UCLA Medical School was once one of the top medical schools in the entire planet, but it is rapidly falling. And people who work at the medical school say that's because the way they are admitting students now prioritizes race over merit. For more on this, the reporter who broke this story today joins us now. Aaron Sibarium is with the Washington Free Beacon. Always so great to talk to Aaron, and we do it so frequently because he breaks so many important stories. Aaron, good to have you back with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Give us the top lines on this story on UCLA. What should we know?
Yeah, so a number of UCLA admissions officers came forward anonymously to say that the school is admitting medical students based in large part on their race and dramatically lowering standards for minority applicants, which has contributed to a massive rise in the number of students failing standardized board exams that are supposed to measure very basic medical knowledge and are not difficult to pass at all. The failure rate nationally for all of these exams is only 5%. At UCLA, in certain cohorts, it's as high as 50% on certain exams. And basically, since a new admissions dean took over at UCLA in 2020, you've seen a dramatic rise, in some cases by tenfold, in the number of students failing those tests. And of course, that data tracks with the subjective impressions of faculty who say that their students can't identify major arteries in the operating room and things like that.
So if upwards of half your class can't keep pace with the coursework, that has a detrimental effect on the rest of the class too, right? So the kids who are there who did qualify, who do have the merit to be there, they've got to wait for their classmates to catch up in order for the course material to move forward, don't they?
Yes, and I didn't mention this in the piece, but I heard from people off the record that that's exactly what is happening. Basically, you have a very wide spread of ability now. So some kids are very qualified, but other kids are really not qualified. So there's no real way to teach to the entire class because some people just need so much more extra help than others.
All right, so one of the features of this is a state school, UCLA. One of the features of California's state constitution is that they're not supposed to do any kind of discrimination on the basis of race. How are admissions officers discriminating, again, on the basis of race in light of that?
So the way it normally works is that they won't say race explicitly, but when certain candidates come up, you can tell based on their zip codes and personal statements that they're probably an underrepresented minority. And then for those students, anytime their low credentials get brought up, there's this deflection of, oh, well, but, you know, they'll probably make it to the second year of medical school, so it's fine. And we shouldn't be worried about the scores because they've overcome so much disadvantage, right? They may not say race, but that's what's going on. And for, white and Asian applicants, they are not lowering standards in the same way. That's how it usually works. There are a few cases in which this dean of admissions, Jennifer Lucero, according to my sources, did actually mention race explicitly. For example, when one admissions officer said, hey, this minority candidate with low scores, I'm not really sure he or she's going to do very well here. The Lucero, the dean of admissions, attacked this person and said, don't you know that African-American women are dying at record high rates? Her scores don't matter. We need people like this in the medical school. So race did occasionally get brought up in this very aggressive context.
Well, the logic
shut down dissenters.
Sure. So the logic of a claim like that is what we need is better doctors who can attend to the needs of African-American women who are dying at higher rates, right? But the way she interpreted this is we need doctors who share the skin color of their patients. She should not be in a position of any authority, should she?
Well, assuming that all is as reported, she effectively broke the law of California, so that alone should probably result in some sanction.
But in terms of the school, the way the medical school views this, and the reason people are coming forward to you, to the Washington Free Beacon, is because they're concerned in particular about the role that this woman, the dean of admissions, is playing in distorting this school. Is that right?
Yes, and I am genuinely unaware. It may have happened before, but I'm not aware of any other case where this many admissions officers have provided such candid and detailed accounts of behind the scenes meetings and said that, standards are being nuked. I mean, that is an extraordinary thing for even one admissions officer to tell a journalist, much less, upwards of 4.
Well, yeah. Especially from UCLA,
that.
To be honest with you. One of the most shocking features here is that UCLA, you'd think of as kind of a left-wing place, telling the conservative Washington Free Beacon that this is such a disaster and we need to tell Aaron Sibarium.
Yeah, and look, I mean, a lot of these guys on the phone, would stress to me, I don't think any of them are Republicans, right? I think plenty are probably pretty left-wing on a lot of issues, but they're just so appalled by what's been happening.
Can I don't mean to in any way impugn your reporting, because I think you're a great reporter, and my guess is that you're the one reason that so much of this is being dug up at all. But my impression is that did any of these guys attempt to approach outlets that were friendlier to them, perhaps? Like, did any of these guys try and go to the New York Times? Did you hear any backstories about their efforts to get this story out there? Or was this just conversations with you and that's where it started and ended?
I haven't heard about any efforts to go to the New York Times. I would expect that they maybe intuited that the New York Times might not want to hear this story.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do think it is sort of telling where it's appearing, right?
Yes.
Given how explosive it is.
I think it's totally fascinating, but I think you're right. I mean, if they're smart enough, they'll know the Times isn't interested in this, but I know Aaron Sibarium is. You've got a body of work that suggests that you take these things seriously and you handle them well. You write in your report today that, is it Jennifer Lucero? Is that her name?
Yes.
Jennifer Lucero. She arrives in 2020, and UCLA has, as a result, dropped from 6th to 18th place in U.S. News and World Report's rankings for medical research. They're in free fall right now. Do you get the impression that the people at UCLA think it's only going to get worse?
I mean, I think these admissions officers are concerned about that, yes. The other thing that's going on here is that they made all these changes to their first-year curriculum, their first really 2-year curriculum, including adding a bunch of social justice stuff to it that takes time out of the normal science stuff. And so, if you admit kids who maybe have weaker academic backgrounds, and then on top of that, you don't give them, or even the stronger kids, as much time to learn the basics, it's not that surprising, right, that people are going to struggle. It's probably not just admissions. There's other things going on, but those other things are not themselves particularly flattering to UCLA either.
You write about a situation where a Native American applicant was rejected in 2021, and Jennifer Lucero apparently put the admissions team through struggle sessions of some kind. What happened there?
What I was told, and I honestly don't know much more about it than this because it's so bizarre, is that she invited her own sister, Lucero invited her own sister to give a 2-hour talk to the entire admissions committee on Native American history. And the context was that I think they got a talking to by Lucero before this that, we didn't admit this Native American person. That's a problem. And it was very, so again, it was bringing up the race or ethnicity of the applicant. That was one case where, it wasn't just a euphemism like disadvantaged or something. It sounds like there it was pretty clear that this was about wanting more Native American students.
And the Native American applicant was rejected, I would assume, on the basis of merit. In other words, they weren't qualified to be admitted to the UCLA Medical School.
I don't know, but I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But in other words, they weren't like, oh, it's a Native American, don't let that person in. I don't think that's why these people came.
No. I mean, I don't think. No one's saying stuff like that.
That's wild. So, what is UCLA saying about all of this?
They haven't said anything. I asked them for comment. I gave them all the slides and data and stuff I was planning to publish, and was like, is this true? Do you have any comment on this? They haven't responded at all. I haven't seen them release any statement about it publicly yet. If there's mitigating information, I'd love to know that. But I asked, and they had plenty of time to give it to me, and they didn't give it to me.
And doctors broadly are concerned about this. I've heard from medical professionals who are concerned about what's happening to medical schools right now. How big do you think this problem is, and is it limited to UCLA?
It's definitely not limited to UCLA, and I've heard anecdotal stories from doctors at all sorts of institutions. I will say I think it may be especially severe at UCLA, and part of the way you know that is not just the scores on standardized tests. It's that at UCLA Medical School, between 2018 and 2023, the percentage of Asian matriculants just plummets by almost 50%. And that didn't happen at any other elite medical school in California or I think even elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So it does look like at UCLA there was a very, very concerted, dramatic effort to racially engineer the class that probably hasn't occurred on quite the same scale elsewhere. Yes. But look, yeah, of course, it's a problem everywhere else.
And did you find, or are you hearing reports of any kind of ensuing grade inflation or just going easy on people who screw things up in medical school as a result?
I have heard. Yeah, I mean, obviously, to do a full accounting of that would almost take a whole other piece. But yes. I was told that yes, in practice, they cut corners to try to get people through. It's partly about making tests easier. It's partly, I think, about giving people more chances to fail things before they're put on probation or kicked out. There's all sorts of kind of bureaucratic manipulations they can perform that will prevent people from dropping out. And the result is that even if kids are passing on paper, they may not be particularly qualified.
All right. Aaron Sibarium over at the Washington Free Beacon with another great exclusive report today, one that's got so many people talking, and rightfully so. Thank you, Aaron. Great to talk to you as always, sir, and great reporting.